Hey guys, it's Will at Third and Long. Today we are going to be breaking down the Week 8 AP Poll Top 25 predictions. Who will win, who will lose, and what they will win by. So go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe, and let's get started. We have starting at 12, the game of the weekend. So at 12 p.m. on Fox, we have number 7, 6-0 Penn State at number 3, 6-0 Ohio State. So Ohio State comes into this game as 4-point favorites. It's a shame that this game is at 12 because this should really be like a 7 or 8 p.m. game. That would just be awesome. But game day will be there. A lot of build-up coming into this game. Top 7 matchup. Whoever wins this game will solidify themselves into the top 4. If the Buckeyes win, they can definitely move into that number 1 spot. They should move into that number 1 spot. Now, I don't think they are the number 1 team, but they will have had wins at Notre Dame, so that's a top 15 win, and then a top 10 win versus Penn State. Every team in front of them so far has no top 25 wins, so they will definitely have made their case as the number 1 team. So Kyle McCord in this game will be going up against the number 2 scoring defense in the country in Penn State. But he's already faced a good defense in Notre Dame, and he's at home this time. So we know that he can get the job done, and he cannot have turnovers versus a top 10 defense. Drew Aller, the quarterback for Penn State, there's going to be a lot of pressure on him because Ohio State comes into the game with the number 3 scoring defense. So can he move the ball versus a top 10 defense? That has yet to be seen so far, and Penn State lacks big playmakers, big vertical playmakers down the field. That could be the difference here, but Penn State is due for a win at some point because Ryan Day has beaten Penn State 4 straight years. I just don't think this is the year. I think the Buckeyes win 23-20. So they fail to cover the spread, but it's going to be really close. It could be a 24-20 game. I would not bet on this game just because of the defenses. You don't know how close the game could be or how far the game could be. But I think the defenses should keep the game close. I don't think the Buckeyes have the firepower to put up 40 points here. But I also don't think Penn State has the firepower either. But I say Buckeyes 23-20. Next game we have at 12 p.m. on CBS. We have number 22 Air Force. So welcome to the top 25 Air Force. They're 6-0 versus Navy at 3-3. So an armed services matchup here. Navy's not to be underestimated. They are 3-3, so they are a serviceable team. However, Air Force is quickly having a very under-the-radar season, and they have a pretty easy schedule. So they could actually run the table the whole year, but they do sit at number 22 right now. Now, Larrier, the quarterback, he did get hurt last weekend, so playing versus Wyoming, so he's kind of a game-time decision right now. He is listed as questionable. He might play, might not play. As of right now, I think they're leaning towards him playing. They are 11-point favorites, but this is going to be a real slugfest here. So both of these teams run a triple option, basically. So they're both going to drain the clock from the other team and both run the ball and try to run the clock. So this is one of those games where each team could have, I'd say, 6 to 7 possessions, and that's about it. So how many times will they be able to score? So I do think that Air Force will win this game, but it will be a very low-scoring game. I'm going to say that they win 24-17. So they will fail to cover that spread, but they will still get the win, and they will move to 7-0. Next game we have at 12 p.m. on ABC. We have 3-3 UCF versus number 6 Oklahoma Sooners at 6-0. So both of these teams had bye weeks this past weekend, so they should both be pretty rested. UCF is on like a 2 or 3 game losing streak as of right now. They did lose Plumlee at quarterback, so they are down their starter. Oklahoma, Dylan Gabriel is up in the top 3 of the Heisman conversation right now, coming off of that massive win versus Texas. So they should be riding high right now. But how did they perform coming off of the high of the Longhorns win, but also the bye week? So are they rested? Is their mind back on track to get back to business? That's the biggest question right now. Now, do I think that they're going to lose this game? Not at all, not in any way possible. They do come in as 19.5-point favorites. Sooners' biggest question mark is they need to get a running back number 1. They still do not have a running back over like 300 yards so far this year. So that's pretty bad at the halfway point. versus these top 10 teams, you will be forced to run the ball. So Dillon Gabriel cannot be that guy that's running for 100 yards every game as the quarterback. That might work some games, but come on, that's not going to work every week. Anyways, I do think these Sooners will cruise to an easy win here. UCF might get some garbage time touchdowns, but Sooners will win 45-24, and they will cover that spread. Next game at 3:30 p.m. on CBS, we have number 17 Tennessee at 5-1 versus number 11 Alabama at 6-1. So Milroe and Milton have both been serviceable quarterbacks. I would definitely say that Milroe's probably the better quarterback, but Joe Milton still cannot throw the ball. I do not care that he can throw the ball 70 yards. He can't throw it accurately from 5 to 70 yards. So what does that really matter? Anyways, Tennessee's biggest problem is they are a run-first team as of right now. But they are playing to the skill set of their players. So Josh Heupel, great coach, knows that Joe Milton cannot throw the ball. He does not have the weapons that he had last year with Hyatt. So he's basically a run-heavy team. That does not bode well facing Alabama's defensive line. To beat Alabama, you must have a passing quarterback who is mobile, but also a very good vertical game, because to me, Alabama's weakness, if you do find one, is always the secondary. Trying to pass the ball on the secondary with a mobile quarterback, which is stressing the D-line. Now, Tennessee cannot do that. Bama will be all over Joe Milton. People will start crying, saying that Tennessee needs to put the 5-star freshman in. But nonetheless, Bama comes into this game as 9.5-point favorites. I do think they will cover that. I think they will score the ball. Tennessee has a pretty good defense this year, but I think the problem is going to be is that their defense will be on the field a lot this game. So Bama will win 34-20, and they will cover. Next game we have at 3:30 on ESPN2. We have 3-3 North Texas at number 23 Tulane at 5-1. So welcome back to the top 25 Tulane. They actually, if Pratt was healthy when they played Ole Miss, because they barely lost that game with their backup, they could be 6-0 right now. But nonetheless, they are 5-1, having a very good year, picking up where they left off last season. So Pratt's back. He is fully healthy. They have a very good offense. But the North Texas, they also have a pretty good offense. So they are averaging 300 yards passing, 200 yards running per game. So do not think that they will be shut out. The spread in this game is 20 points. That is a massive spread versus a pretty decent offense. Now, they might not be able to stop anyone, but they will be able to get first downs and to move the ball. So I think Tulane is going to win this game. I think it's going to be kind of a higher scoring game. It will be a shootout. They will win 35-28, so they will fail to cover. Next game we have at 3:30 on NBC. We have 3-3 Minnesota at number 24 Iowa, who sits at 6-1. This is a game, if you have time to watch it, please do not watch it. This will be the most boring game. I cannot stand the Hawkeyes the way they run their offense. I like the Hawkeyes program, but Kirk Ferentz is a joke that he still employs his son, Brian Ferentz, as the offense coordinator. Hands down the most garbage coordinator in the country. So they are 24th. They are 6-1. They cannot score 15 points to save their life. It does not matter what type of defense they play. They will have the same score every single game. So I have zero faith in them to get 20 points this game. Anyways, they come in at 3.5-point favorites. Minnesota has a bad offense. Not as bad as Iowa's, but it's not the Minnesota team of old, because PJ Fleck actually usually has pretty decent teams. But they have a pretty good defense. So they will try to keep the game close. This will be a low-scoring game. I think Iowa will win like a 13-6 type game. Just a boring game, field goal game. I would not be surprised if this is also a 9-6 game. But I do have Iowa winning 13-6 and covering. Next game at 3:30 p.m. on ABC, we have 4-2 Washington State at number 9 Oregon, who sits at 5-1. So Washington State had been ranked the last few weeks. They did get just the brakes beat off of them last week by Arizona. They lost like 46-6 or something like that. So they are out of the top 25 right now. That's not setting them up versus Oregon, who is going to throw the ball and definitely run the ball down their throat. Oregon has a pretty good defense. Now, Washington State's offense is not to be underestimated here. They do have a very good offense. Cameron Ward is a very good quarterback, so do not underestimate them. But Oregon will definitely be controlling the pace of this game. They come in as 20-point favorites. So they have the better quarterback in Bo Nix, who is still in Heisman contention. The whole season is still in front of Oregon. Pac-12 is loaded. There's a lot of ranked teams for them to play and to keep moving up in the polls. They could still make it into the playoffs. They lost one game very close to Washington, and they're still number 9. So everything is still in front of them. They just need to take care of business. So Bo Nix, 17 touchdowns, 1 pick. They have the better running back in Irvin. They have the better wideout in Franklin. So they have the better skill position players, better coaching staff, and they are at home. So Oregon will cruise to a win here, 45-17, and get back to taking care of business. And they will cover that spread. The next game is at 3:30 p.m. on the SEC Network. We have the South Carolina Gamecocks at 2-4 versus the number 20 Missouri Tigers at 6-1. Welcome back to the top 25. So Missouri comes in as 7.5-point favorites. I'm going to kind of go out on a bit of a limb here. So Gamecocks are not good, but they are better than their record shows. So even though they're 2-4, they have a very good offense under Spencer Rattler, but their defense is god-awful. So they cannot stop anyone from scoring. That's why every single game is a shootout. Missouri, their defense is serviceable. They have a really good offense with Cook, Schrader, Burden, lots of weapons. So Missouri, as of right now, has the better quarterback, better running back, better wide receiver. But South Carolina has been able to move the ball on everyone and get down the field under Spencer Rattler, who is a very good quarterback. So I'm actually going to go with the upset here. Missouri is 7.5-point favorites, but I'm going to go out on a limb here. I just have a hard time thinking Missouri is going to get to 7-1 in the SEC. So I think Gamecocks get the upset here, 38-34. But I do think that score can go the other way. It's just I think that we're due for an upset at this point with this game. The next game that we'll be looking at is the 4 p.m. game on Fox. We have number 8 Texas at 5-1, traveling to 3-3 Houston. Now, under normal circumstances, this is going to be a complete beatdown, but Texas did lose their last game to Oklahoma. They did have the bye week, but they are the way better team. So they have Quinn Ewers, they have Brooks, they have Worthy. So they have the better quarterback, running back, wide receiver, better coaching staff. However, do not underestimate Dana Holgorsen. He will always move the ball. He will always have a very good offense on hand to score points. So Houston is at home, although it is in the state of Texas. So it's an in-state rivalry. And this is the last time they play in the Big 12, and there will be a lot of Longhorn fans there. So I definitely think Texas, just like Oregon, lost one game to a top 10 team, but everything is still in front of them. They can still make the college football playoffs. They're at spot 8. If they win out, they will have the opportunity to replay Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship. If they beat them, they would be 12-1 and a Big 12 championship with a beatdown of Alabama. So that is always in their favor. So they have to beat these teams from this point forward. They come in as 23-point favorites. That's a massive spread. I was kind of teetering back and forth of if I thought that they would cover that. But with the final score that I
41-28.
The next game we have at 6:30 p.m. on the CW Network, 1-5 Virginia Cavaliers at number 10 UNC at 6-0. So when it comes to this game, Virginia is about as bad as you could be. They have no redeemable qualities at all. They're not good on offense. They're not good on defense. They're not good on special teams. They're basically going to get curb stomped this game. The Tar Heels have everything in front of them as of right now. They just beat down Miami. They've beat South Carolina. So they are in control of their own destiny in the ACC. They are back in the top 10. It's been a really long time since they have been there. Drake May is having a great year, but they did get Walker back at wide receiver. That's a difference maker. They have not had a number 1 vertical weapon this whole season. They have basically been a run-heavy team. Now they have a good offensive weapon for Drake May to throw the ball to. So they come in as 23.5-point favorites. That's a pretty big spread here, but I think they're going to cover it. They're going to win 38-17. Next game we have at 7 p.m. on ESPN, we have number 13 Ole Miss at 5-1, traveling to Auburn, who's 3-3. So Hugh Freeze gets to play his old team. Auburn, their defense is and their offense is really bad with Thorne at quarterback. Now, Ole Miss, they have a really good running game. They have Jackson Dart running the ball at quarterback. They have Quayshawn Junkins. They have Bentley. So they are stacked at the playmaker positions. They also have a pretty decent defense, and their defense has went with them everywhere that they have gone to play. So them going to Auburn, I do not think at all that Lane Kiffin will be intimidated by playing Hugh Freeze. Hugh Freeze is a really good coach, but it's going to take him some time to rebuild that roster and get the depth that they need for SEC play. So Ole Miss is 6.5-point favorites. I think Ole Miss is going to cruise to a win, relying on their running game and their defense, and they're going to win 30-20, and they will cover. Next game we have at 7:30 p.m. on the SEC Network, we have 2-4 Army traveling to number 19 LSU at 5-2. So Brian Kelly's team here is really starting to rebound. They have looked pretty decent the last 2 weeks. They need to get the defense under control, but they did look pretty good last week. The offense is no problem. So Jaden Daniels is having a Heisman-level year running and throwing the ball. So their offense is definitely clicking. They will score a lot of points. Army will not be able to stop them. So this is going to be a beatdown, but it's a 30-point spread in favor of the Tigers here. That's a pretty massive spread, but I do think they will cruise to an easy win here. They will win 42-10. So they're going to cover. And basically what they are doing is they are building momentum up to the Alabama game. This is the team that Alabama should be scared of in the SEC West. Now, I did pick them to go 9-3 this season, so they're kind of right where I think they should be. However, they are a second half of the season team, and that is where they start that right now. Next game we have at 7:30 p.m. on NBC. We have number 2 Michigan at 7-0 versus Michigan State at 2-4. So Michigan State really has nothing going for them here. They did fire Tucker, so they have a interim coach right now, and they're just not really good at anything. But can you blame them? Because they don't have anything that they're actually playing for. But this is an in-state rivalry. This game is usually a tough game. This used to be the hurdle that Harbaugh could not get over, but obviously recently he has definitely gotten over it. Last year he beat them so bad that they jumped his players in the tunnel. So this game has completely gotten out of hand in favor of the Wolverines the last few years. So Michigan is going into the bye week next week, so I think that they are going to be looking to cruise through this game, get to the bye week healthy. That's the main concern right now. They come in as 24.5-point favorites. That's a pretty big spread. I did think that they were going to cover that at first, but now I think that they will win 35-13. So they will fail to cover, but they will get a really good win going into the bye week. Next game that we'll be looking at is at 7:30 p.m. on ABC Network. We have number 16 Duke at 5-1 versus number 4 Florida State, who is still undefeated at 6-0. Florida State comes into this game as 14-point favorites. So obviously, Florida State has the better skill position players. They have Travis, they have Benson, they have Coleman, they have a very good defense. But Duke is not to be underestimated. They have a very good defense, they have a very good run game, and they have good special teams. The biggest question mark here is, will Riley Leonard be back? Will he be playing? If he does come back, will he be healthy? That's the biggest question. So they did play very good last weekend versus NC State, and they did shut their pretty good offense down. But I don't think they'll be able to shut down Florida State. And even if Leonard comes back, he probably will be hobbled. So that is going to limit them in this game. I do think Florida State will win 34-21, so they will fail to cover. But the game could be a lot closer if Leonard plays. That's the biggest question mark. But Florida State will be winning as of right now. The next game we have at 8 p.m. on Fox, we have number 14 Utah at 5-1 versus number 18 USC at 6-1. So Utah did get the win last weekend versus Cal, and their offense actually looked pretty decent. But I do not think that that's a sign of things to come. They cannot move the ball. Every single game this year, their offense has sucked. They cannot get 250 yards per game consistently. Barnes, Johnson, it really doesn't matter. Cam Rising, will he be back? It does not matter at this point. The season is almost over. He has not suited up yet, so you might as well just redshirt him. Now, for USC, they did get beat down by Notre Dame this past weekend, but they faced a really good defense. Utah has a top 10 defense also, but they can't move the ball. Trojans have the way better playmakers, and they will be out for blood because they just lost this past weekend. So I think Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley will definitely respond to their loss from last weekend, and they will move the ball. So I think they are going to cruise to an easy win here. Now, the spread is 6.5 points. Utah is way overranked. They should not be 14. Trojans will beat them, and they will definitely cover that spread. So I have them winning 38-17 and getting an easy win here. Next game we have coming up is a late one at 10:30 on Fox Sports Network. We have 1-5 Arizona State Sun Devils at number 5 Washington Huskies, who are 6-0 and coming off of that top 10 win versus the Oregon Ducks. So how will they respond now that they are at number 5 and just outside of that top 4? So everything is also in front of them right now. They just have to win out. They can maybe lose max one game this year, but can they live up to what their position is as of right now? So Penix Jr. is probably the Heisman frontrunner at this point of the year. He has the best wide receiver core in the country. Sun Devils will definitely not be able to stop their offense. So they come into this game as 28-point favorites. That's a pretty massive spread. And the reason that's pretty massive is because Washington just has an average defense. So there will be opportunities for the Sun Devils to be able to score the ball. But I do think that Washington will cruise to an easy win here. They will win 48-24, but they will fail to cover that really large spread. And the final game we have this weekend is at 10:30 on ESPN. We have number 25 Bruins versus Stanford, who's 2-4 and just came off of that upset win versus Colorado last Friday night. So the Bruins, they have a pretty good defense with Chip Kelly there. He will definitely be able to move the ball. That is his specialty. But Dante Moore, 5-star freshman quarterback, he's been up, he's been down, but he is a true freshman. So that's to be expected as of right now. Stanford has a really bad secondary, so they will be able to move the ball vertically, passing the ball. Stanford does not have a good defense. They got a really good win last weekend, but there's going to be a big letdown this week. So the Bruins are 17-point favorites. I think they will definitely win the game, but I think that the Cardinals should get a garbage time touchdown to make the score look closer than it actually was. But the Bruins will win 34-23, but they'll just fail to cover that spread. So that's my breakdown of the AP Poll Top 25 games for Week 8. Hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks.